I'm a doctor, and I'm about to tell you about the most unethical, unprofessional, and absolutely right decision I ever made. I fell in love with my patient. And if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a single thing. My name is Daniel, I'm 38 years old, and I'm an oncologist at a major hospital in Seattle. I've been practicing for 11 years, and in that time, I've seen hundreds of patients. I've held hands with the dying, celebrated with survivors, and cried in my car more times than I can count. I thought I knew everything about maintaining professional boundaries. I thought I was immune to crossing that line. I was wrong. 3 years ago, on a rainy October morning because it's always raining in Seattle, a woman walked into my office for her first appointment. Her name was Emma Hartley, she was 34 years old, and she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. If you know anything about cancer, you know that's essentially a death sentence. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer has a 5-year survival rate of about 3%. Most patients don't make it past 6 months. When I read her file before she came in, I felt that familiar heaviness in my chest. Another young life about to be cut short. Another family about to be destroyed. Another case where I'd have to be the bearer of impossible news. But when Emma walked into my office, everything I thought I knew shifted. She wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. She wasn't in denial. She walked in wearing a yellow raincoat, bright yellow, like sunshine, and she smiled at me. Actually smiled. Not a brave smile or a fake smile, but a real, genuine smile that reached her eyes. Dr. Chen, she said, extending her hand. I'm Emma. I hear you're the guy who's going to tell me how much time I have left. I was taken aback by her directness. Most patients dance around the subject. I'd prefer to discuss treatment options first, I said carefully. She sat down, crossed her legs, and looked me straight in the eye. Dr. Chen, I've already seen 3 oncologists. I know what stage 4 pancreatic cancer means. I know the statistics. I know I'm probably going to die within 6 months. What I need from you isn't false hope. I need honesty, and I need someone who won't treat me like I'm already dead. In 11 years of practice, no one had ever been that direct with me. I found myself respecting her immediately. Okay, I said. Here's the truth. Your cancer is advanced. It's metastasized to your liver. Chemotherapy might buy you some time, maybe 6 to 8 months instead of 3 to 4. It's going to make you feel terrible. Nausea, fatigue, hair loss, the works. Some people choose quality over quantity and skip the chemo. It's your choice, and I'll support either decision. She nodded slowly. What would you do if you were me? Nobody had ever asked me that before either. Honestly? I don't know. It's an impossible choice. That's a good answer, she said. Most doctors pretend they know. I'll do the chemo. Not because I think it'll save me, but because I need to know I tried everything. When I die, I don't want to wonder what if. That was the first of many conversations we'd have. Emma started chemotherapy the following week, and I saw her every 2 weeks for monitoring and treatment adjustments. And slowly, against every professional instinct I had, I started to look forward to her appointments. She was different from any patient I'd ever had. She never complained. Even when I knew she must be feeling horrible. She asked me about my life, what kind of music I liked, if I was married, divorced. I told her, what I did for fun, not much, I admitted. She told me stories about her life. She'd been a landscape photographer, traveling the world capturing images of places most people would never see. She'd been to 63 countries. She'd climbed mountains, explored caves, slept under stars in deserts I'd never heard of. I've had a good life, she told me during one appointment. I'm not angry about dying young. I'm just sad about all the places I'll never see. Where did you want to go next? I asked. Iceland, she said without hesitation. The Northern Lights. I've photographed auroras in Norway and Finland, but never Iceland. I had a trip planned for next March, but... She gestured vaguely at her body, at the 4 pumping poison into her veins. Probably not going to make that one. I couldn't stop thinking about that conversation. This woman who'd lived more in 34 years than most people do in 80, and she was going to die without seeing the one thing she wanted most. Over the next few months, something shifted between us. Our appointments ran longer than they should have. We talked about things that had nothing to do with her treatment. She showed me her photography portfolio on her iPad, stunning images of Patagonia, New Zealand, Morocco, Japan. I showed her pictures of my niece's birthday party, which was basically the most exciting thing in my life. "You need to travel more," she said, studying a photo of me looking awkward next to a birthday cake. "You look tired, Dr. Chen. You look like someone who needs to see a sunset somewhere beautiful." "Maybe after I retire," I said. "That's what everyone says. And then they retire and they're too old or too sick or too scared. You should go now, while you can. I have patients who need me." She gave me a long look. "You're a good doctor. But you can't save everyone. Sometimes you need to save yourself." I think that's when I first realized I was in trouble. Not because of what she said, but because of how much I cared about what she thought of me. By month 4 of her treatment, Emma's scans showed the tumors weren't growing. They weren't shrinking either, but they weren't growing. It was the best we could hope for. She'd lost her hair, lost 20 pounds, and had dark circles under her eyes, but she still smiled every time she saw me. "Still alive," she'd say, checking in for each appointment. "You haven't gotten rid of me yet." "Good," I'd reply. And I meant it more than I should have. It was during her 5th month of treatment that everything changed. She came in for her regular appointment, and I could tell immediately something was different. She wasn't smiling. She looked exhausted, defeated. "Emma? What's wrong?" She handed me an envelope. Inside was a bill from the hospital. $187,000. Her insurance had denied coverage for some of her treatments, claiming they were experimental. She'd already spent her savings. She'd sold her car. She had nothing left. "I can't do this anymore," she said quietly. "I can't afford it. This appointment might be my last." Something broke inside me. This woman, who'd faced death with grace and courage, who'd made me laugh even on my worst days, who'd somehow become the brightest part of my week, she was going to die not because medicine couldn't help her, but because she couldn't afford the medicine. "No," I said. "Dr. Chen. No. I'll figure something out. Let me make some calls." I spent the next 3 days fighting with the insurance company, with hospital administration, with everyone I could think of. I managed to get some of the charges reduced, got some treatments reclassified, called in every favor I had. But it still wasn't enough. She still owed $90,000, money she absolutely didn't have. So I did something insane. I paid it myself. I emptied my savings account, took out a loan against my retirement fund, and paid her medical bills. I didn't tell her. I just called the billing department and cleared her account. When she came in for what she thought would be her last appointment, I told her the insurance company had reversed their decision. It was a lie. She cried. Actually broke down crying in my office, something she'd never done before, not even when I first told her she was dying. "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you for fighting for me." I held her hand. I shouldn't have, but I did. And I didn't let go. That's when I knew I was in love with her. Not sympathy, not compassion, but actual, terrifying, completely inappropriate love. I started breaking rules. I gave her my personal cell phone number in case of emergencies. I scheduled her appointments at the end of the day so we could talk longer. I thought about her constantly. When I woke up, when I went to sleep, during other patients' appointments. It was unprofessional and unethical, and I couldn't stop. During month 6, her scans showed something impossible. The tumors had shrunk. Not a lot, but measurably. I showed the images to 2 colleagues without telling them whose scans they were, and they both confirmed it. This wasn't normal. This wasn't how stage 4 pancreatic cancer behaved. "Emma," I said carefully, "I have good news. Your tumors are responding better than expected." She stared at me. "What does that mean?" "It means we keep fighting. It means you might have more time than we thought." She started crying again, and this time I didn't just hold her hand. I hugged her. A full, unprofessional, crossing every boundary hug. And she hugged me back, and we stood there in my office holding each other while she cried into my shoulder. "I want to live," she whispered. "I want to live so badly." "Then live," I said. "Fight for it." "I'll fight with you." Month 7, the tumors shrank more. Month 8, even more. By month 9, 3 of the 5 tumors were gone completely. The remaining 2 were stable. It was unprecedented. I presented her case at a conference, anonymously, and other oncologists were baffled. This wasn't how this cancer worked. Whatever you're doing, my colleague said, keep doing it. I knew what I was doing differently. I was treating her like she had a future. I was giving her reasons to fight. And somewhere along the way, I'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love with her. I knew I had to tell her or refer her to another oncologist. The ethical thing would be to transfer her care. But I couldn't. I was terrified that if I did, her progress would stop. That sounds insane, I know. Cancer doesn't care about feelings. But I couldn't shake the belief that somehow, she was surviving because she had something to live for, and I desperately wanted to be part of that. During month 10, I finally crossed the final line. It was a Friday evening, her last appointment of the day. Her scans had come back that morning showing continued improvement. She was crying happy tears this time. I'm going to make it, she said. I'm actually going to make it? You are, I agreed. Dr. Chen Daniel, I need to tell you something. My heart was pounding. What is it? I know what you did. With my medical bills. I got a statement from the hospital last month, and I called to ask about the charges. They wouldn't tell me much, but I figured it out. It was you, wasn't it? I couldn't lie to her. Yes. Why? This was it. The moment I either stayed professional or burned my career to the ground. Because I couldn't lose you, I said. Because you're the most extraordinary person I've ever met. Because somewhere between trying to save your life, you saved mine. Because I'm in love with you, and I know that's completely inappropriate and I'll understand if you want to transfer to another doctor, but I can't keep pretending I'm not. She stared at me for what felt like an eternity. Then she kissed me. I kissed her back. And just like that, I crossed every ethical boundary I'd ever been taught. I was kissing my patient in my office, and it was the most right thing I'd ever done. I've been in love with you since month 3, she whispered. I thought I was crazy. I thought it was just because you were the one keeping me alive, but it's not. It's you. The way you care, the way you listen, the way you look at me like I'm not dying. I love you. I love you too, I said. We knew it was complicated. I immediately transferred her care to my colleague, Dr. Morrison, one of the best oncologists in the state. I documented everything, disclosed our relationship to the hospital ethics board, and prepared for potential consequences. The board reviewed my case and decided that since I'd transferred her care immediately upon acting on my feelings and had maintained her treatment throughout, no disciplinary action was necessary. They warned me to never do it again. I promised I wouldn't. Emma continued thriving under Dr. Morrison's care. Month 12, month 15, month 18 she kept beating the odds. Her cancer didn't disappear entirely, but it stayed stable. She needed maintenance chemotherapy, but she was alive. We moved in together after 6 months of dating. I met her parents, her sister, her friends. She met my family. Everyone who knew her story called it a miracle. The woman who was supposed to die was instead planning a future. On the 1-year anniversary of our first kiss, I took her to Iceland. We stood together under the northern lights, and I asked her to marry me. She said yes. We got married 6 months later, small ceremony, just family and close friends. Dr. Morrison was there, smiling. You two are either the luckiest or the most stubborn people I've ever met, he said. Probably both. That was 3 years ago. Emma's cancer is still stable. She still needs treatment, and we know there's no guarantee. Every scan is a moment of terror. Every symptom could be the beginning of the end. But she's alive. She's my wife. She's here. We've been to 12 countries together. She's teaching me photography. We have a dog named Pixel. We're talking about adopting kids in a few years if her health stays stable. We're living the life she thought she'd never have. People ask me if I regret breaking the rules. If I worry about my career, my reputation, the ethics of what I did. I don't regret a single second. Yes. I broke the rules. Yes, I crossed boundaries that exist for good reasons. Yes, I put my career at risk. But Emma was dying, And now she's not. She's alive and thriving and happy. And I get to wake up next to her every morning. Would I recommend other doctors do what I did? No. The rules exist for good reasons. Power dynamics between doctors and patients are real and dangerous. But in our specific case, in our specific situation, falling in love saved both of us. Last month was Emma's 3-year post-diagnosis anniversary. Statistically, she should be dead. Instead, we celebrated at her photography exhibition opening. She had a show at a gallery downtown, photos from our travels together. The title of the exhibition, Borrowed Time. Because that's what we're living on. Every day is borrowed, every moment is a gift. Emma's cancer could come back tomorrow. She could be gone in 6 months. Or she could live another 30 years. We don't know. Nobody does. But we're not waiting anymore. We're not putting things off until retirement or until someday. We're living now, fully and completely, squeezing every drop of joy out of every day we have together. I still practice oncology. I still see patients. But I see them differently now. I treat every patient like Emma taught me to, not as a disease to be managed, but as a person with dreams they haven't fulfilled yet. I fight harder for them. I see them as human beings first, patients second. And every time I feel like giving up on a difficult case, I think about Emma. About the woman who walked into my office 3 years ago, who should be dead, who defied every statistic and is instead in our kitchen right now making coffee and singing off-key to the radio. Love didn't cure her cancer. Medicine did that, along with an enormous amount of luck. But love gave her a reason to fight. And maybe, just maybe, that made all the difference. So yes, I fell in love with my dying patient. I broke the rules, risked my career, and did everything you're not supposed to do as a doctor. And I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Edit, holy hell, I did not expect this response. Let me address some common questions and comments. This is unethical and you should lose your license. I understand that perspective. I genuinely do. The rules against doctor-patient relationships exist for very good reasons. Power dynamics, conflicts of interest, vulnerability, these are all real concerns. I reported my relationship immediately, transferred her care, and faced an ethics review. I took responsibility for my actions. I'm not saying what I did was ethically pure, I'm saying it was worth it. You paid her medical bills? That's insane. Probably. But I couldn't stand by and watch her die because of money. Could I have done more through official channels? Maybe. But I had the ability to help immediately, and I did. I don't regret it. Her cancer probably would have responded anyway. Maybe. We'll never know. But stage 4 pancreatic cancer has a 3% 5-year survival rate. Whether it was the treatment, her willpower, random luck, or some combination, she's alive. That's what matters. What if she dies next month? Then I'll have had 3 amazing years with the love of my life instead of staying professional and wondering what if for the rest of my life. Every day with her is worth whatever comes after. Did you actually cure her with love? No. Let me be clear, love doesn't cure cancer. Medicine, treatment, and an incredible amount of luck are why Emma is alive. But psychological factors, hope, will to live, reasons to fight, these do impact outcomes. Not magically, but measurably. Patients who have strong support systems and reasons to live tend to do better. That's just statistics. How's her health now? She's doing well. She has regular scans every 3 months, and she's on maintenance chemotherapy. She gets tired easily, and some days are harder than others. But she's working again, part-time photography, she's active, and her quality of life is good. We know the cancer could come back, and we're prepared for that. But right now, today, she's okay. What about future patients? Won't they try to seduce you? I'm married, obviously, so that's not happening. But beyond that, what happened with Emma was unique. It wasn't patient after patient falling for me or me falling for them. It was 2 specific people in a specific circumstance. It's been 3 years and it hasn't happened again. Honestly, I don't think it ever will. Emma is singular. Some people in the comments are calling this a fairy tale or saying I'm romanticizing something unethical. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just a doctor who fell in love and is justifying breaking rules. But I'm sitting here in my living room watching my wife edit photos, and she's alive and happy and here. If that makes me unethical, I'll wear that label proudly.